Chapter 11 Step number 02 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Davi's plan A was actually the traditional style. It was her first choice because she believes that she first need to test the water before she jumps into it. After all, Say was like a freezing cold water, and jumping into him right away might be nothing but suicide, or worse, she might even fail hard before she could even execute her plans. She needs to proceed slowly but surely to get his attention first. Basically, she has to court him, she wants to court him, and make him want her. She also thought that those girls before her might already did the best they can, therefore, she has to try even harder. She was willing to try going back to the Dark Ages if that's what's needed. After all, that was her plan A, the mission she herself entitled, the legendary courting after marriage. In the large dining table, Davi and Say was eating quietly. However, Davi was actually brainstorming. She was thinking about the next step. It was just the second step, but the level of difficulty seemed jumped a little too high. Well, normally, it wasn't hard at all, but the person was Say of all people, even just the second step felt like 10 times higher. Step number 2. Initiate conversation. Just as Hinari said, Davi knew how important conversation was. She needs to create a leeway to at least go through him, meaning, she has to talk to him and try making connections with him while staying on her highest level of alertness for possible landmines that may blast her off in an instant if she's not careful. And the hardest part was that all the articles she read were all suggesting flirty questions like, "What do you like best about me? What's the shortest relationship you've ever had? What does your ideal girl look like? What's your favorite position? What is your biggest turn on? Do you watch adult movies to turn yourself on?" Well, she knows that he was never interested in anyone else, so how the hell could he like someone, or be in a relationship to someone? He had no interest in girls, so how the hell could he have an ideal girl, much more favorite position and his best turn on when no one could even arouse him? My God! Davi's head was aching. And now that the man was in front of her, even asking was just so taxing, requiring her such huge energy and courage. However, Davi was determined, she needs to talk to him or they will go nowhere. Can I ask you something? Speak. What's your favorite food? None. Oh. How about movies? Do you have one you wanted to watch? I don't watch movies. Oh. Sport. What's your favorite sport? Nothing in particular. Then how about celebrity? None. Davi was speechless. Why did it end up with a question and answer? And what's with those answers? Davi pressed her lips tight, she didn't think that talking to him was harder than she imagined. However, she won't stop. Then, is there anything you're even interested at? Say suddenly stopped moving his hands, then raised his head and looked at her. At the same time, Davi held her breath as she waits for his answer. What do you think? Why is he asking me? How the hell should I know? He sure knows how to dodge questions, this monster. Well, I think, soon enough, you'll get interested in me. Upon hearing what she said, he finally let go of his spoon and fork. What made you think so? I trust myself. What if you'll fail? I won't. How sure are you? For heaven's sake, why did I ended up being questioned instead? Davi sighed and then gazed at him, determined as ever. I'm stubborn, I won't lose to you no matter what, I will make you my girlf. I will make you want me. There was a short pause. Davi bit her lips. Say stared at her, eyes filled with nothing but fighting spirit. It was as if she was an ancient lady general who was determined to win the battle even if it cost her life. She almost looks like she was in a do-or-die mission. And Say couldn't help but feel somewhat amused. He felt that there was a brewing breeze inside him. Good. I'll look forward to it then. Chapter 12 Step number 03 You are listening at novelfull.audio. I just want to confirm something, Davi once again broke the long silence. She doesn't know anything about her husband. The only thing he told her was his first name, a name she doesn't even know if real or not. However, Davi doesn't want to think about his identity at this point of time, she will wait for time to give her a chance to know him if ever it will come. At the moment, she has a much more important thing to do. She was thinking about the third step on her to-do list. She was thinking if she was a bit too fast, however, she knows that she can't waste any chances served on her while she can. Days ago, she was told by the maids that her husband was actually rarely coming home to the point that he can even disappear for a year. Making Davi a bit uneasy, thus made her rearranged her plans into the quickest route to win him over. Step number 3. Take him out. Davi was sure that this step was rather risky. She was well aware about his lack of interest in anything. He's a man who was almost devoid with all humane desires. However, she need to take him out and bring him into a place where it's easier to create something meaningful, to a place where she can be at ease in executing her next moves on him naturally. Say it. Well, aside from seeing your face, I can do whatever I want to you. Right. Ah. I mean, like. If I can ask you out whenever I like. Or touch you. Or anything like that. Davi was still having such a hard time, she felt like she was a peasant talking in front of a tyrant prince. She was nervous and couldn't relax at all every single time she utters a word to him. She wanted to ask him why the hell is he emitting such a cold and scary aura even when he is just eating quietly. She wants him to at least soften up, but right now, she could only pray that through taking him out, she will at least learn to get used to him and could talk to him normally. Or else, she will never execute her plans perfectly. Up to the situation, you mean? As long as you're not busy. You could say that. Then. Can I ask you out for a date? Say once again raised his head and stared at her. And like a merciless ruler, he scrutinized her every expression as if he's trying to uncover something. However, he could only see the same determined eyes of the girl across him. Where, he said calmly. Ah, you don't have to be worried. You can still wear your mask. I already have a plan. The girl's expression was suddenly switched from tense to excited. Say could tell that she was currently in the beginning of her action plan and she was wasting no time to execute it. However, he noticed her impatience, she seems like she's chasing a deadline. Something that quietly made Say's brows knitted slightly. When, he asked again. Are you free tomorrow? For unknown reason, Say strangely want to answer her right away. He then quickly slipped his hand in his pocket then dialed on his phone. Zaki, is there any important event tomorrow? Huh? Why are you asking? Just answer. Me. Say's voice instantly sounds tyrannical, making the girl across him felt a sudden chill. Zaki on the other side of the phone could only deduce how he looks at the moment, making him smile mischievously. Okay. Ah. There's an important one, remember that sole heir of Shinmeng's group. Deal with him, huh? Wait, Say. Say put down his phone right away then stared at the girl before him, ignoring the other man on the other side of the phone. I'm free, he said. Making Davi's frozen spine suddenly melted as she smiled dazzlingly towards him. Meanwhile, Zaki's pale face turned amazingly curious. He wanted to know what the hell made Say change his mind. He was the one who's looking forward for tomorrow. He said he wanted to see that stubborn but genius man and make him one of his loyal pawns. So what the hell happened to this man who was always prioritizing his plans before anything or anyone? Did Say found another pawn greater than Shinmeng's heir without him knowing? Impossible. In the same dim and black-toned room, Say was standing near the large window. He was quietly looking down the green garden. Watching a hard-working girl working like a pro gardener. Say. What the hell did you just say on the phone? Zacky's loud voice abruptly echoed inside the room as he rushed toward Say. His pretty face was filled with nothing but wonder. She asked me out, Hoa. What, seriously? Zacky's eyes almost bulge out. He was shocked. Not for the news that Davi asked him out, but because he realized that Say actually prioritized someone's plan before his, for the first time ever. He simply couldn't believe it. What the hell? What made me think that a mere pawn can change this frozen stone's mind? Wait. Has the long-lost queen finally arrived? Holy sh*t. The Ice Age's downfall is already this close. Chapter 13. What's the plan? You are listening at novelfull.audio. So. Where? I don't know. What? Oi, Say. Zacky put his hand on his forehead while his other hand was on his hip. He can't help but shook his head in disbelief. He can't believe that this man actually agreed going out without even knowing where the hell they're heading. Hey, are you trying to make this hard for me? What if she wants to bring you to the huge crowded market? Do you expect me to secure such place for you for such short period of time? Zacky's voice was problematic, but the stone-cold man just glanced at him blankly. Do you really think she'll bring me to a market? Huh? How should I know? Why did you not ask her in the first place? I did. But she didn't tell me. She said she has a plan. Zacky was speechless. He could just force a laugh. He was mystified. He was already with Say since they were kids. He knew Say was never a fan of recklessness and uncertainty. That little wild dandelion, what the hell did she do to this frozen log? How did she manage to make him agree without even telling him where? I'll go ask her. If the place is dangerous. Then, dangerous, huh? Aren't we the dangerous one? Oi. You're being way too relaxed. Besides, didn't you said we'll stay low-key for the time being? Do you think anyone will expect me to even set my foot in such place? Besides, aren't you here? Say stared at him with his same blank yet absolute gaze. Making Zacky unconsciously messed his own brown hair. He then let go a deep breath, as if he was forced to raise his white flag, then stared back at the frozen stone across him. I got it. Zacky started moving towards the door, still looking a bit worried. However, the moment he closed his eyes for a moment, an evil smile carved in his face. As if he was a top-notch actor who suddenly switched from a worrywart young man to a mischievous evilest villain in existence. I'll go ask her for details, he said before shutting the door. Young miss, Mr. Chen has arrived, whispered by the old butler to the sweaty young lady who was amazingly focused on a colorful maple tree bonsai. And as soon as she heard him, she stood right away and looked at the old man. Where is he? At the sofa. Thank you, she said, then ran away towards the mansion as fast as she could. As if she was a kid who was excited to see her parent who just came home from their long vacation. A few moments later, Davi finally saw the man she was waiting for. During those 5 days since she signed the contract that day, Mr. Chen was the one who stayed with her. He was the one who took care of everything in the hospital, and at those times Davi could only talk to him. That's why she was sure that of all the people around her at the moment, Mr. Chen was the easiest for her to approach. Mr. Chen, can we talk? The disguised Zacky was surprised. He didn't expect that Davi wants to talk to him as well. Of course. I do have something to tell you too. Davi seemed glad when Zacky agreed right away. However, she kept on glancing up the stairs and she's visibly unsure whether to talk or not. What is it? Zacky asked, even though it was obvious that Davi was being worried that Say might hear her. Let's go talk to the garden. She said as she gave him an awkward but pleasant smile, making the man nod at her in an instant. Zacky quietly followed her. And as they walked, he was looking around and he was somehow surprised with the little changes he saw in the once dull garden. You did all this? He asked while his eyes were glued to the little colorful trees beautifully arranged. Ah. The maids helped me, she replied, making the man nod as if telling her he was pleased. Mr. Chen. That. I was planning to take him out for a date tomorrow. Where? Davi stepped closer to him, then whispered something on him. And once he heard what she said, Zaki's expression instantly turned inexplicable. He looks like he was stunned for a moment and doesn't really know how to react, but just like a pro, he nodded at her right away as if telling her that she understood what she wanted to happen. So what's the plan? I'm sorry, but I need to know. It's for security purposes. Don't worry, I won't tell him anything. Zaki's supportive tone made Davi felt relieved, reflecting a pleasing smile across her beautiful face. Chapter 14 Bunny Masked Couple. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the middle of the night, Davi was awakened. She was half asleep as she moved out of the bed and walked towards the toilet. After a moment, she came back. The light was on, and as soon as she saw the man on her bed, her curious mind suddenly enveloped her consciousness. She then slowly walked closer and quietly climbed on the bed. She carefully sat while her lips were pressed tightly as ever. Well, she wanted to look at his face. She wanted to take a glance at him even if her heartbeat was beating wildly as if the world was coming to its end at any second. It was as if the temptation was much greater than life itself at the moment. My God! Is this how Eve felt when she ate the forbidden fruit? Davi could only shake her head softly. Well, I'll just tell him that I accidentally saw him, she whispered to herself. She then took a quiet deep breath, 3 times. Then along with her loud accelerating heartbeats she slowly turned her head, eyes closed. For another long moment, Davi kept her eyes closed as she faced towards the sleeping guy. She felt like she was an actress in an intense thrilling scene. Then, she slowly opened her eyes while squeezing the pillow in her chest tight as ever. And as soon as she opened her eyes, she unconsciously held her breath. Then she blinked non-stop for a long while. Her shoulders also dropped instantly as if her emotional energy just dropped into 0% in no time. She hugged her pillow like a weakened kitten. That was lethal, she whispered, then stared back at the man again. The man's upper face was actually covered with black sleeping mask. The mask was a bit bigger than the normal thing, hiding his forehead and only showing his sexy lips and the tip of his nose. So this is what he meant when he said accident won't happen, huh? Weakened Davi laid lazily facing the man beside her. She could see his neck, his sexy Adam's apple, his perfect jawline, his lips, his jet black hair. It was already their second night together, but Davi felt no danger coming from him. Say was just lying there, motionless. And Davi couldn't help but just watch the non-human creature beside him. Can't sleep. Davi was instantly startled. She didn't expect that Say was awake. God, when did he woke up? Did he felt I'm staring at him for a long time now? Ah. No. I'm turning off the light now, good night. Davi spoke as fast as she could. She was in an instant panic, feeling like she was a thief caught red-handed. The weather was bright and a couple both dressed with plain black t-shirt paired with tattered jeans was sitting inside a low-key black Toyota Camry. Hours ago, Davi was unsure and nervous when he asked him to wear the simple common attire she bought for him. However, Say was surprisingly obedient and he wore the clothes without saying anything. Making Davi felt obviously relieved and stunned. It's because Say, wearing such clothes was just something Davi can't help but praise. She can't believe that he will still look so catchy and elegantly handsome wearing t-shirt. His long legs were even revealed handsomely, making him look like the perfect boyfriend material. To make you not look weird, I bought these. Davi broke the silence as she smiled at him brightly. Say's line of sight fell into a pair of seemingly couple masks in her hands. She then gets the smaller one then wore it. Say was almost fine with it, however, the masks were just a bit strange. They were childishly designed like a bunny. It even has a pair of ears towering above the eyes. He stared at the girl for a moment, and seeing her wearing the strange mask made him took the mask she's giving. Making Davi smiled at him dazzlingly once again. "We're here, boss," the driver said as the car stopped. Say looked outside the car's window, then his brows slowly knitted quietly. Meanwhile, Zaki was waiting in a bench when he suddenly stood the moment he saw the black car opened. Davi wearing a funny bunny mask made Zaki's eyes sparkled. Her, wearing a loose black t-shirt and jeans with bunny mask was just too cute that people around also turned their heads towards her. However, what appeared the next moment almost made Zaki choked himself to death. Cough, cough, cough. Holy sh*t. Zaki couldn't believe his eyes the moment he saw Say came out of the car wearing the same common clothes and the same funny bunny mask. He was completely bewildered. He never even thought that a day when he saw Say in such outfit will come, not even in his wildest dream. He can't believe that he finally saw that frozen stone Say, or something funny for the first time in his lifetime. "All hail Davi, your highness, you really are the best," he whispered to himself while his gaze was still focused on the bunny-masked couple, looking like a lovey-dovey delinquent young lover meters away from him. Chapter 15 Step number 04 You are listening at novelfull.audio. At Diamond City Amusement Park. Say's eyes, though hidden, was actually slowly getting narrowed the moment he realized where they are. However, he could only stand there and wait for his wife's next move. On the other hand, Davi was currently holding herself to focus on her mission. It's been such a long time since she and her brother last visited an amusement park, that's why she just couldn't help but felt nostalgic as she watched the colorful towering palaces in the park. So after a short while of looking around, she then took a deep breath, switched instantly into mission mode, then smiled brightly at the man beside her. Step number 04. Touch him. Davi remembered what Hinari told her, don't make it too obvious, do it naturally. Davi knew that she need to do all sort of different strategies for her to know what will make her husband reacts. She has to do some experiments and observe his every reaction. And to do that, she has to be alert and mindful at the same time. "Do you have any place you want to visit first?" she asked, even though she already know what he'll say. "Up to you." "Okay. Let's go." Davi casually held his wrist, then happily pulled him towards the route to the dancing fountain. However, one thing was off. The moment she touched him, she felt like she was the one who was affected instead. Touching him suddenly made her heart flutters, making Davi instantly lose her mission mode. Why the hell am I feeling like this? I'm just holding his wrist, for heaven's sake. Davi couldn't believe herself. She couldn't even manage to look at him at the moment because she was desperately trying to calm herself, not knowing that she was already walking too fast and heading towards a route that wasn't on her plan. Meanwhile, apart from Say's narrowed eyes due to the overwhelming crowds, his brows started to furrow as well. It's because the girl who was happily talking to him just now was suddenly walking at full speed while dragging him. Thankfully, the crowd were voluntarily opening a way for them, simply because they were just too catchy, as if they were a special celebrity couple hiding behind a bunny mask. And while obediently following her wife, Say was occasionally glancing at his wrist her wife was holding. He could feel that she was suddenly exerting such strength that's as if she was making sure that he will not get separated with her. As if he was a kid getting dragged by his mother. In the middle of their full speed walking, a lady in uniform suddenly stopped them. Davi snapped right away as if she was suddenly awakened in her short but taxing dream. "Welcome to our haunted mansion. We're actually giving a 50% discount to the 10th couple who will get in, and you two are just too lucky because you are the 10th. Please enjoy your discount, ma'am and sir, and good luck." The uniformed lady spoke too fast and she was now giving them the tickets, which was suddenly accepted by Say. Davi was surprised because of what Say did, but she was even more stunned when she realized where they are at the moment. "Wait, what? How did we end up here? Aren't we just heading to the dancing fountain just now? And what? Haunted house. Let's go, Say finally spoke. It was supposed to be a good development because it seems like something finally caught Say's attention. But why? Is Say's interest actually about horrors? My God. This monster, I don't want to get in. Davi's greatest weakness was her brother, and actually next to him was Ghost. She was phasmophobic and still can't handle horror movies, much more a haunted house. Is it okay for you to get in? She asked, and he just nodded at her. So she couldn't do anything but just bite her lip and follow the man before him. She breathed really deep as she was convincing herself that her mission was much more important and that this man before her was a much terrifying monster than any ghost around. Meanwhile, Say was a bit curious. He thought that Davi must have been so excited to bring him in the haunted house to the point of walking at full speed non-stop. He thought that Davi must have been chasing that 10th couple discount, so he was wondering why was the girl suddenly looking so tense as if she doesn't want to get in. Chapter 16 Horrified. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Time passed by and Say's uneasiness kept rising as they moved further inside the haunted house. The house was pitch black and all sort of scary things were inside it. Even though this was his first time entering this kind of place, he could tell how skilled the maker of all the things inside. It's because everything was looking realistic, even the sounds, and the ghosts in disguise. However, Say's expressionless face slowly changed. His brows were knitted as he kept glancing at the girl behind her. It was because the girl who was just looking excited just now suddenly turned amazingly quiet ever since they entered the house. She was tugging Say's shirt tightly from behind as if she wanted to rip it into pieces as she leaned her head in his back as though she was hiding from someone. Say then halted the moment they reached a dim lighted room surrounded by little candles, looking like a room where rituals of witches were held. He turned towards the girl and his eyes turned slightly wide upon seeing her pale face. Her mask was hanging on her neck and the girl's eyes were tightly closed. Her forehead down to her neck was wet with sweat. And seeing the girl in that state, Say decided to go back. He then held her shoulders. Let's go back, he said, and his voice instantly made Davi's back stiffen. Her mind wasn't even working properly anymore because she was busy forcing herself to imagine pleasant things, yet Say's voice was like a bang that startled her. Her grip in his shirt loosened. And she suddenly opened her eyes. However, the first thing she saw was a wooden thing that looks like a wooden coffin surrounded by candles. Her eyes instantly turned wide and she was about to cover her eyes when the coffin suddenly opened while a hand of rotten corpse appeared. Ah! Davi screeched and she instantly hugged the man in front of her. She was shivering as her loud piercing scream still echoed inside the house. Say was speechless. He was dumbfounded. He could tell that the girl was scared to death. So he raised his hand and patted her back as the girl was still hugging him as if she's trying to squeeze him. That was just a ghost in disguise, he said, but the girl didn't stop shivering. She didn't even loosen up her intense grip. At that very moment, Davi remembered her young self, sitting alone while hugging her own knees in the corner of a dim room. She was just 10 that time when she experienced that traumatic event in her life. It wasn't even a month yet when she found her mother hanged herself in her room, it wasn't even a month yet since her burial, and yet the evil people who was after her wealth were now attacking her as if she was a rabbit being chased out by wolves. They did all sort of dirty things to drive her insane and drive her out of her own home. They scared her every night, turning their huge family mansion into a horrifying place, filled with blood and ropes akin to what her mother used to kill herself. That time, Davi was just a child and she was alone in a huge house. She found out years after that those ghosts and horrors she had witnessed were all fake and were made just to make her leave the house on her own accord. However, the scar and the emotional trauma never went away even after many years. And that cruel memory remained fresh in her nightmares, leaving her horrified every single time she remembers it. Chapter 17 Zombie Apocalypse. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a long while, Say felt that Davi couldn't seem to calm down. We're leaving, he uttered, but the girl didn't seem to hear him. He then moved his face closer to her ears, then said the same words gently. Davi, who was still in daze, heard his voice. She felt like someone finally called for her to wake up from that ruthless nightmare, making her nodded right away. Say, on the other hand, gently pushed her and he held her hand. He then started walking while the girl obediently followed him from behind, even though she was walking too slow due to her shivering knees. She also gripped Say's hand as if telling him not to ever let go of her. However, what happened next was disaster. A group of zombies and white ladies suddenly appeared behind them and they started grabbing Davi's hand and feet as they tried dragging her away from Say. Some zombies even grabbed him as well, and the disguised staffs were really top-notch professionals and they acted realistically as ever. However, what they did made Davi went berserk. She grabbed Say's shirt like mad, and due to her overwhelming strength, Say's shirt was ripped. She screamed loudly as she tried running away from them. She even kicked some of the white ladies, but like a pro, the staffs didn't stop. At the same time, Davi's painful cry strangely made Say felt a surge of indescribable anger. He himself doesn't know why, but even though he knew that those white ladies were staffs doing their job, he still yelled at them with a freezing cold tone. All of you! Let her go, or else! His fearsome voice echoed inside the whole house, making all the staffs in disguise frozen in fear. The man's voice was terrifying enough to make them let go of Davi in an instant. They couldn't even move. Say then moved closer to the girl, who looks like she's almost at the verge of breaking down. He could see how miserable she looks, and the next thing he did was embraced her as tight as he could. At the entrance of the haunted house, Zaki almost couldn't believe his own eyes upon seeing the two lovey-dovey couple coming out of the house. Say was carrying Davi in his back and it almost looked so damn romantic, if only their looks were fine. The neat and cute couple who entered the house minutes ago were now coming out almost looking like a couple who just survived the zombie apocalypse. Say's shirt was ripped and Davi's shoe was on his hand. Their clothes were tainted with red paint akin to a blood. And Say's cute white bunny mask was also tainted in red and its towering ears broke as if someone just punched it. They literally look miserable yet cool at the same time. And if only a camera was around, it would have been a perfect movie scene. However, Zaki knew it wasn't the time to keep watching them. It was because he can already feel the dark aura coming from the frozen man meters away from him. Making him hastily ran towards them. What happened? He asked, even though he already knew that they were mobbed by white ladies and zombies inside. Get the car, we're leaving. Say's unbelievably cold voice made Zaki acted right away, even though he wanted to ask why the hell he seems angry all of a sudden. Is it because of Davi? Is it because of those staffs? Zaki was puzzled. He knew that even though Say was always been cold and heartless, no little things could anger him like this. Does this mean what happened inside was such a big deal to him? Seriously. Chapter 18, Why Are You Mad? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning at Grey Mansion. Davi woke up puzzled. She realized that it was already the next morning, and by the time she remembered what happened to their first date yesterday, she bit her lip and her brain started to turn like a spinning wheel. My God, what have I done? She held her head and tugged her own hair as if she's a businesswoman who just lost her company due to overnight bankruptcy. She could only say, my life is over. Is your head hurt? Say's voice was like a cold wind abruptly enveloping Davi's consciousness. She was so frightened that she suddenly grabbed the blanket and covered herself. Nope, I'm fine, she replied with a hoarse voice. Say's eyes behind his mask narrowed upon seeing the girl's reaction. However, he moved towards her and he sat at the bed while facing her. You fainted yesterday. The doctor said, you're phasmophobic. Is it true? Davi was still tense, but Say's words somehow felt gentle, making her slowly put the blanket down while peeking at him like a cat. And after a short while, she nodded. Then why did you still enter the house? Because you like horrors. Who said I like horrors? Ha! But aren't you the one who chose? Davi couldn't continue her statement. It was because she realized that it wasn't him who dragged her there, it was her who dragged him. Wait, was it all just misunderstanding? Davi couldn't believe herself and she bit her lip again. At that same moment, just by looking at her, Say could already tell that she must have misunderstood him. Sorry, she said as she stared at him, fidgeting like a cute shy little kid. For what? Because our first date is a mess, it's not your fault, he firmly said, and then he lifted his elegant and long arm towards her. He then landed his palm gently in her head and caressed her hair, making Davi instantly stunned intensely and speechless. That short moment seemed too long and she felt like all her frozen nerves were melted like a chocolate under the bright sun. What's going on? Upon leaving Davi's room, Say's gentle aura instantly turned unbelievably cold as his gaze fell towards Zaki. What happened to those people who abused her? Well, they're all shamelessly currently living in that mansion until now. Destroy them. Say's words was tyrannical as usual, giving no room for Zaki to even speak his mind. However, as expected, Say's decision was the same as his, so he abruptly answered him with an evil smile, telling him that he already did. But how about the house? I found out, she doesn't wish to go back there ever again. Zaki said while his gaze was scrutinizing Say's expression. However, Say just replied a short, "Get it," without showing any emotion at all. Making Zaki a bit disappointed. But still, Zaki was stubborn. He was intrigued about Say's current mood. Anyway, Say. You're obviously looking mad since yesterday. Why are you mad? Is it because your precious first date with your wife turned out chaotic? Is it because she ripped your shirt and made you look amazingly miserable for the first time in your life? Is it because your cute bunny mask suffered the same fate as you? Is it, shut up. Haha. Yeah. I got it. But I personally think that you're mad because of her, right? You're concerned about get out. Now. Yes. I'm leaving. Why can't you be soft to me for once? Chapter 19 Step number 09 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Davi was left out dazed on her bed. She didn't expect him to show her such kind gesture at all. All she felt at that very moment was an overwhelmingly warm and indescribable feeling. A feeling that made her unconsciously clench her fist tight. A feeling that was new and unknown to her. However, right after Say shut the door, the first thing she did was jumped out of her bed and grabbed her notebook. Her eyes suddenly glittered in excitement. She could only think at that time that it's finally working. Finally, he showed her a good development. At last, he showed her a sign that everything she's doing wasn't all futile and useless. That simple gesture he did was like a magical vitamin that boosted her motivation to the highest level. While scanning her notebook, all she could think was to move forward right away while the momentum is still rolling on her favor. But to her dismay, step 5 to step 8, which were supposed to be executed during and after their date, wasn't seemed to be fitted to do at the moment anymore. But gladly, step number 9 seemed to be a great choice. Step number 09. Make him a homemade lunch or snack, cook for him. Davi remembered what Hinari said. Giving someone handmade things or homemade food will instantly make a man feel he is special, and that will be a huge step forward. She also remembered an article saying that food can also be an effective trap in making a man fall. Well, she herself agrees. Food is one of the greatest temptation any human can resist, right? She then lifted her arm sanguinely and clenched her fist tight as if she just raised a sword in the middle of her minions. Okay. Let's do this. Zaki, now disguised as Mr. Chen, was quietly staring at the cute white creature, asking him for information in a way that it was as if he was Say's mother. What does this girl think of me? Don't I originally look like a bodyguard? When did I become a mother in her eyes? Please, tell me, please. The girl pleaded him, now looking like a little child asking favor from her dad. Now I'm a dad, Haha, this is amazing. Ehem. Young miss, why don't you just go ask him directly, he finally replied. I did, but he said none. Oh. I see, Zaki already expected Say to answer her that way, and he could only facepalm himself in his mind. It was because he knew that Say was the type who's just eating solely to survive. He's a freaking stone who will never crave for food. Young miss, I suggest that you will just cook your favorite food instead. Say, I mean the young master isn't picky but he's not also very fond of food, that's why he doesn't really have any particular food he favored. Don't worry, I'm sure he will like anything you'll serve him. Is that so? Davi can't believe what she heard. She was shocked to know that Say wasn't fond of food as well, but she could only pout in disappointment. She knew that Say wasn't a man who can be easily pleased to begin with. But she's still surprised because even the supposed to be absolute and majestic food seemed powerless against him. Ah, this is tough. Is there really nothing that this man likes? Food is supposed to be lethal, right? Meanwhile, Zaki right across her was looking amused while watching Davi's every change in expression. She looks like her 120% energy a while ago suddenly drained to 75% upon hearing what he said. And yet it seems like the words giving up wasn't in her vocabulary at all. Her eyes were still burning, almost telling him that she will still do it no matter what the result. This girl, who would still be motivated to continue the battle till the end when victory is already in the hand of others. Zaki could only smile mischievously and root for her. Good, the perfect woman for that frozen stone should have a will of an immovable rock mountain. I wonder who'll win, the stone or the rock? Dear myself, how about we have a bet? Chapter 20 Step number 08 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Okay then Mr. Chen. I'm leaving first. She said, making Zaki surprised for a moment. Wait. Where? To the market. Why don't you just ask the maids to go instead? No, it's fine. I'll go buy the ingredients myself. Davi's jolly answer made Zaki felt somehow amazed. He expected her not to go through so much trouble anymore for a plan that'll surely fail, but she's still giving her all. As expected with a mighty rock. Oh, okay. I'll go call Mr. Go to ACC, No need, I'm going alone. Don't worry, I'm already used doing this. I mean, going to the market by myself. Davi's firm tone, her kind eyes and warm smile as she speaks seem to have something inexplicable that makes anyone just agree with anything she wishes. Making Zaki felt intrigued and just nodded obediently at her without any more questions. She then turned and started walking away. But she paused the moment she heard steps from the stairs. She looked back and as expected, Say was there standing like a godly existence while he was facing towards her. Zaki, who was still standing between the two of them, instantly tried hiding his presence as he slowly backed off a little to have a better view of what was about to unfold before him. His intrigued self was sure that something interesting is about to happen. But a long silence had passed and Say didn't say anything. Zaki could only bit his lip hard as he stared at the motionless stone sharply as ever. The whole sofa was suddenly enveloped with nothing but silence, and the only thing missing were sounds of chirping birds. Zaki was almost going to burst. Thankfully, Davi finally walked towards the unbothered masked frozen ice to break the awkward atmosphere. I'm going to buy something outside, she said with her usual dazzling smile. However, the cold masked man just nodded at her, making Zaki's mouth twitched as if he was a father so disappointed with his son. Another long silence went by and strangely, Davi was starting to look awkward. Not because of the awkward and deafening silence, it was because of what's currently in her mind. Truth was that, Davi already started brainstorming the moment she saw Say facing towards her without saying anything, and as expected she instantly turned herself into mission mode upon realizing the perfect opportunity in executing the step number 08 which was supposed to be executed on their date. Step number 08. Do simple cheesy things. Davi already searched the internet and almost had read every articles about every cheesy thing that exists on the planet. And surprisingly, Simple Kiss was boldly marked with bright red in the long list of words in her mind. What Hinari also told her was like a recorded voice suddenly being played in her mind. A simple kiss on the cheeks is cute and it's a great force to keep the red carpet of flirting keep rolling forward, you know. Sometimes, it is even more effective than any other intense kisses. What is it? Say finally spoke when Davi just stood there motionless, as if she was in her deep thinking. And of course, his cold voice startled her from her brainstorming, making her went instantly tensed. Ah, nothing. I'm going now, see you later, she replied, forcing a smile. And the moment Davi started walking away, Zaki could only felt an urge of wanting to go and just smack the wooden man as hard as he could. He was so disappointed that he's about to shout at him. TCH. This damn frozen piece of wood. However, what happened next made his disappointed self energized into 1000% in an instant. Davi suddenly halted just before she reaches the door. She turned back and ran toward Say in a really fast pace. And the moment she reached him, without any warning, she tiptoed and kissed him near his lips before running away without even turning back again. That cute scene happened in a flash and the girl was long gone. Yet the two men in the gray-toned sofa stood motionless for a long while. Say was still unmoving while Zaki's gaze was scrutinizing him, anxiously waiting for his most awaited reaction.